TCG community, welcome back to another video here with Chris. Today we're going to be going over the blue Goku Black deck that it actually has already come out. By the time this video has come out, I wanted to wait until the end of the reveals of the new set, just in case there was anything that you could fit into this deck, archetype-wise, that would make sense, just to help it out a little bit. But it wasn't really much, so we'll go over what the actual leader itself and a deck, as you guys know how these videos work. As always, make sure you guys like and subscribe, make sure you guys hit the bell for notifications so you guys can support the channel, all that good stuff. Now we're going to jump right here into the breakdown of this deck. This deck has a lot of good and a lot of bad. Essentially right now, if the meta does not change, I think this deck is unplayable. If this deck plays against a red deck that has the ability of removing any of its indestructible pieces, this deck is essentially useless. There's only really one deck that can do that right now, and that is Sin. However, Sin is still being very popular. It's hard to play against that deck, right? There are some other decks that do give this deck a little bit of problem, but we tried to build it a little bit differently, a tad bit. So hopefully you guys enjoy this version of the deck. So we'll start with the leader, right? Obviously this is a expert deck. This is actually a reboot of a leader, very old leader. I think it might have been set 3. I wasn't actually playing at that time, so I'm not exactly sure. But auto, when one of your Zamasu or Goku Black battle cards attacks, you get the draw card. Then activate main. If you have 2 or more energy, you add 1 card from your life to your energy. You can't place cards in your energy for the turn. At the end of the turn, place 1 of your energy in the drop. And if your life is at 4 or less, or you have a 3 cost Zamasu Z battle card in play, you get to draw 2 cards and strike life down to 6. So in this deck, you honestly want to go first every single time. If you don't go first, it makes the deck a little more difficult. But if you go first, it's a little bit easier to navigate. Essentially, you can turn 1, you play a card, right? Turn 2, you activate main, take a life, place an energy, and then from there you play your Z battle card from the deck, which costs 3, play it, awaken, and now you're on the go, right? But again, tapping out on that is just not, it's not pleasant. So it does definitely kind of hurt the deck a little bit, but we'll go to the awaken leader and see what we think of this. So we have Super Saiyan, Rose, Goku Black. For one, the art on this card, fantastic, love it. Auto, when one of your Zamasu or Goku Black cards attacks, draw 1. So now it also counts for your leader. So if you swing with your leader, you get the draw. Active man, add 1 card from your life to your energy, and then the same effect as the other side. So nothing really changes that much on there. The point of this is to kind of temporarily ramp yourself so you can get effects from cards that can be played from the energy, or that have effects that with cards in your energy. And then we have the Z leader, Super Saiyan Rose Goku Black. Awaken for 1, or Z awaken for 1 blue, and I believe it is it's 2 or 3. I cut it off here on the side. I think it's like 2 Z energy. Auto, when one of your Zamasu or Goku Black cards attacks, draw 1. Again, same thing as the other side. Add up to 1 Goku Black from your Z energy to your energy. You can't place cards in your energy for the turn. At the end of the turn, place 1 of your energy in the drop. If your life is at 2 or less, you have a Goku Black card in your Z energy. This card gets 5k and double strike for the battle. So this is probably the best part, is that you have the ability of no longer hitting yourself, which is great because now you can use your cards from your Z energy, and this is good. So you basically can, now you're ramping from your Z energy instead of your life, which is very good. And once you're down to 2 life, your leader becomes a 20k double strike. You also can gain the 5k on defense, which is nice. So that way you can at least defend yourself a little bit better. Now, again, this deck is very interesting in a lot of regards. I don't think it's the greatest right now. If we're in a heavy green meta, or just a meta where a lot of your indestructible cards can't be removed, it's much better. Right now with red, yellow has a lot of targets that can negate skills. That's a problem for this deck too, because you can just negate indestructible and then just kill these cards. So it's a little frustrating, I would say, as a Goku Black player. But I think the list is pretty good, so we'll go over that now and see what you guys think. All right, so we have the list here. We'll go over these cards individually as we normally do. So first is going to be the Gowasu Easygoing Watcher. This is your 1-drop searcher. Searches any blue god that costs 6 or less. If your leader is a Goku Black, when you add this card to your Xenergy, you may place this card from your Xenergy in the drop. If you do, add 1 Goku Black from your drop to your Xenergy. Again, very good. Allows you to cycle the Goku Blacks into your Xenergy, which you do need in order to have your leader side effects or your Z Awaken effects work. Alright, next we have the Goku Black Close Combat. This is, again, one of the new cards. It's a 1-drop. Searches the top 5 for a Goku Black or Zamasu card that is blue. Very important for this. We'll come back to this a little bit later. It also has a 20k crit, and it gets reduced by 2 if you have a Zamasu in play that has Indestructible, which most of the Zamasus in this deck either have Indestructible or they gain Indestructible for some reason. 3 Goku Black Countdown to Destruction. This is sort of a tech card. It's already been sort of, I would feel like people have already been putting this card in the deck, or at least they should be. When you have 5 or more energy, this card can be played for free. Then if your leader is Goku Black or Zamasu, you can draw a card, and you can't play this card for the turn, but it's a free play, draws you a card, pops, hits all the free play, or like all the defensive stuff for yellow, like Trunks Cheetah, things like that. Makes them proc their effects, Poutine, but then also draws you a card, and then you can use it for Union Absorption after that, or Union Batora, whatever. Yeah, it's Batora. Which at least it should be Batora. Can't remember. The Goku Black Negate. If it's your opponent's turn and your leader is a Z-Leader, this card costs 1. And then you can also pay another blue. You draw a card and you get to play a Shadow Token with 10k power, 0 combo cost, 5k combo power, and blocker for the turn. So it's a negate that also creates another negate. So it's almost like a token negate, but it costs 2. It's almost as if you're paying the 2 for a token negate. This card's actually very, very good. This is pretty solid. And then it is also a 15k attacker. So that is pretty good as well. 2 Goku Black Unforeseen Darkness. So this might kind of foreshadow a little bit what we're doing here with the deck. If you have, when this card's played, if you have an energy that is both blue and yellow in your energy, you draw 2 cards, choose 1 card in your hand and discard it, and then you can choose up to 1 blue or yellow energy and switch it to active mode. So we are running a blue-yellow variant of this deck. I think it's, once we get through the whole deck, it might make a little more sense. We'll go over the reasons as to why. But I think blue-yellow might be the better way to play this deck. I don't think the mono blue version of this deck you get access to as many defensive tools and as well as a very good offensive tool that we'll go over. 3 Justice of Destruction. This is the new counter. Again, having an in-archetype counter is very good. It's also it's a 5k combo as well. It's a 20k crit. You negate the counter effect. Choose one of your opponent's battle cards ignoring barrier. Bottom deck it when this card's played. Choose up to 1 of your blue Zamasu cards at a cost of 7, switch to active mode, or you can pay 2. You have 5 more energy, and you have a Zamasu with Indestructible in play. You play this card, and then you bottom deck 1 of your opponent's battle cards. So it's got 2 different forms of removal, potentially, and it's also a 20k crit. It's 2 energy for a 20k crit. It's not fantastic, but having the ability of using it as a counter, again, is very, very good. 3 Fuse Zamasu, Advocate of Evil, and 2 the Divine Immortal. So we are using the Tragedy Overground package, which is it feels very good if you can turbo this out. I think the earliest you can get this out is potentially turn 3, probably turn 3. But again, this is if the game sort of slows down, which we're kind of expecting it to a little bit. Dropping this on turn 3 essentially just wins you almost every matchup, because Tragedy, when it hits the board, all of your opponent's battle cards go to their energy and rest mode, and then your opponent can't play battle cards 4 or more. If they do, if they attempt to, it goes to the drop instead. Now, if there's a card that has its if there's a card that has its energy cost reduced to 3 or less, it can be played. So if you have a 4 cost and it goes down to 1, you can still play it. But anything that's coming down for 4 or more instantly goes to the energy. So and there's not anything in any other color other than blue that can remove this card, so it's really difficult to get rid of. But how this works is the Zamasu here has Union Patora. That's what it is. You Union Patora with a blue and blue Zamasu and Goku Black. And if you have 3 or more energy, you can use cards in your energy for this Union cost. Now it's a 24k Indestructible. You then tap 4 to go into the 9 drop, which has Indestructible and Dual Attack. From here, you can activate main or battle. Place this card on the drop, and you activate a tragedy from your hand, drop, deck, or energy. So anything other than your life or your warp, essentially. So you can activate this card. So, yeah. So actually, you can probably go into this turn 3 because you have to have 4 energy for the 9-drop. But it's a very powerful tech. I think if you get this down, you kind of lock out most decks from being able to kill you, and then it's sort of just a drag out where you're just gonna probably inch them out in value and beat them from there. But I think this is a very good tool for you to be able to run because you are running a lot of Zamasus and Gokus. It just sort of makes sense. For Zeno, Edge of Space, we don't run the Goku Black super combo. We need to be able to pull things back to our hand. I think it's one of the biggest problems with this deck is that sometimes you might ramp cards and you're like, oh crap, well, that card's gone. But being able to just pull stuff back, like once you charge it, I think it's good. You also can run Goku Black. Both of those are searchable. So if you want to run a 2-2 split, we decided to run Zeno. I know you can't use, obviously, you're not putting a card down and then getting it back. Because you can't do that on your turn, but being able to just put stuff down in your energy and then maybe you want those cards later on allows you to grab it back. There's a lot of blue hate going around with being able to restand energy. So using this to kind of get around that is, I think, very powerful. Just something to keep in mind too. Again, it's a god card. You can search it. It's pretty good. One of the Lofty Aspirations. This is a very good card. If we weren't running the Tragedy package, I would probably run more of this. You evolve on top of a blue Goku Black for 4 energy, and if your opponent has 5 more energy, you get to choose 2 of their energy and place them in the drop, and then you have a 30k triple strike. So one thing you can do is if your opponent has 5 energy, so this is if they go first, essentially, and so on your turn 5 or whatever, they have 5 energy. You can play this guy here, draw a card, tap 4, play it on top of that, and you went into this guy, you get to pop 2 of their energy, so you just choose their energy in active mode, then you can swing, probably going to win the game off of that. Then we have the multicolor. So we have 3 Fuse Zamasu Exterminating Force. I love this card. This is one of the cards, I think I pulled like 12 of these cards from the Realm case that I bought when that set came out. Just been sitting there. It's not I just wasn't really using them at all. I was looking through blue-yellow cards that we could potentially put in this deck. This card came up. So first thing, there is a Zamasu or Goku Black card. Negate this card's energy exhaust skill in all areas. So we have a free check land that is searchable, mind you, off of this guy. So this guy searches any blue, Zamasu, or Goku Black. So all of these cards, except for Zeno and Tragedy, are searchable, and Gowasu obviously, are searchable off of this card here. So is Zamasu the Eliminator. Also, this searches off Zamasu the Eliminator as well because it costs 2, so it's under the 6 or less. So this is mainly here for a multicolor charge. You can evolve on top of a 5-cost Zamasu for 4 energy. This card is a double strike, unique, indestructible blocker. Has Aegis, where you pitch a blue and yellow card or a blue-yellow card. You just have to fulfill that cost of both colors. You draw a card, then you switch this card to active mode, and you choose one of your opponent's cards and switch it to rest mode. So it taps something down, draws you a card, and then you get another blocker. Very, very powerful card. So the 5-drop we're going to be evolving over is Advocate for Evil. Very good card. Again, it's a very powerful thing to be able to have on board. You play this guy for free, and you can play this guy on top of it. Now you have a 35k double strike beater, or else you can use them, to block as well multiple times. And then Zamasu the Eliminator, one of the best promos ever printed in New Age Dragon Ball. I feel like this card was disgusting when it came out because it was obviously a little bit more broken. Did get an errata. Still a very powerful card. Hits 4 or less. When this card comes down, you draw a card and you get to tap another card. So you can potentially stop 2 cards from hitting the board. You also can play this in counter window 2. So your opponent plays a battle card with Deflect. You can still play this, draw a card, and then tap that said card as long as it doesn't have barrier. That's really good. This card also becomes a check land once you have a blue-yellow multicolor card in your energy. So you put down a Zamasu turn 1, or a Fuse Zamasu turn 1, then you can play down an Eliminator on turn 2. I have 2 blue-yellow energy, and then these cards cannot be charged for the rest of the game, and you'll never have a card in rest mode, essentially. So you can potentially run 4 this guy. I think we're at 54 cards. I wanted to kind of cut down on the on the deck count a little bit, because I think I was at like 56, 57 when I was first making this deck. So I kind of wanted to turn that down a little bit. And then we have our secret rare, which this card is crazy good. So Power of Batora, probably one of the best looking secret rares in my opinion. It's one of the secret rares. It's one of the only secret rares I've never actually purchased for some reason, but I've lost to this card a lot. So it's a triple strike ultimate. If your opponent has 6 or more cards, 6 or more energy, or 6 or more cards in rest mode, reduce this card in your hand by 3, so it becomes a 5 cost. Card comes down, choose up to 4 of your opponent's cards, switch them to rest mode, then draw 4 cards. So why play this over Gohan, over Golden Cooler, all these type of things, right? Well, you can play any of those cards, right? What's cool about this is that it is searchable. So this is a blue Zamasu card. So it is searchable off of this guy. It's pretty cool. So having a searchable secret rare is, I think, very cool. There's also another Gowasu that you can play that I think it searches out Zamasus only, like top 7 for Zamasus, which you could also run that in tandem with this. So that way every one of these Zamasu cards, so it would be this, and this. And then if you run any of the newer Zamasu stuff, which I do believe we have in this deck, all that stuff is also searchable as well. So, but this is very powerful. Very powerful. It's a god. So like I said, again, it's searchable. Technically it's searchable off of this, but it doesn't, you can't grab it. But yeah, being able to hit it off of this is very powerful. For Zamasu Teamwork Undying. So this is a card that was printed a long time ago for one of these Zamasu Goku Black decks. It's been played a lot in the Android 21 Expert deck. This is very cool though. So it's a 19k blocker. Has a counterattack effect on it. You also can play the Infinite Force Fuse Zamasu, which is probably a card you might tech as a one of. You might be able to put it in instead of Lofty Ambitions or Aspirations or whatever. But auto, when an energy is placed in your drop area, when a card in your energy is placed in the owner's drop area, draw 1, switch this card to active mode. So at the end of the turn, after our leader effect, this card will draw us the card, and then we'll restand it, so we get to swing at that for 19k, restand it, gains a marker. Now we have a blocker up, which is good. We do have a few blockers in the deck, this one being one of them. Some of them I think are down here. But again, this is just a very powerful card. Again, it was made for the deck. It's kind of weird because you don't restand energy with this leader, so you're kind of tapping out for it, but that's why we have the Zeno, so we can play a little more defense. 3 Internal Energy Shift. So this card, I think, is probably really good to run for this deck. So I'm going to reveal the other cards here. So we have the 2 7-drop Zamasus, and then 3 of the 6-drop Zamasus. Both of these have blocker. This card you have to fuse with a Z Battle card, Zamasu, and then a Goku Black card. When a Zamasu with an energy cost of 7 is placed on the top of this card, switch one of your energy to active mode at the end of the turn. And when one of your energy is placed in your drop area by your leader skill, switch this card to active mode at the end of the turn. So this card can restand, this Zamasu can restand. This guy also has blocker, double strike. When this card attacks, or one of your Goku Black cards is added to your Z energy, draw a card. Choose one of your opponent's battle cards and place it at the bottom of their own deck. And then if your leader is a blue Goku Black and it's your turn, when one of your energies is placed in the drop area by your skill, switch this card to active mode. So both of these cards also restand. This card has removal and draws you a card. With Zamasu as well, so you can actually restand one of these guys. And then Eternal Energy Shift allows you to negate the attack. If your opponent reveals the top card of their deck, if it's a battle card, you get to restand an energy and restand a battle card. So we can restand one of our blue energy, then we can restand either this Zamasu, or this Zamasu. We can block with this guy again, use Aegis, restand him again. You can survive quite a bit of turns being able to do this. So, and also this makes your opponent reshuffle their deck. So there's a lot of decks that are running, probably 80% battle cards. So this card's going to hit almost every single time. There's probably some matchups where it doesn't, but most of the time it's going to hit. 2D magic, 1 Dirty Burst, and then 2 Sensu Bean to kind of round out the deck there. We tried to cut down on as many extra cards as possible for consistency purposes for the Goku Blacks and the Zamasus, but these can always be upped or changed depending on the format or what you guys want to do with that. Now we have the Z deck, so we have 2 of the Zamasu battle cards and 2 of the Goku Blacks. So we're going to read both of these because these are actually very interesting. So this is a Deflect Z-Stack. You Z-Stack the Goku Black underneath this. Permanent, if your leader is Goku Black, this card gains Indestructible and Blocker. So this is a 15k blocker. that has indestructible. When one of your energies is placed in drop area, switch this card to active mode at the end of the turn. Again, this card has the same effect as all the other Zamasus. Now, what's interesting is this guy here. So the Rose Black, if it's your opponent's turn and this card is under a blue Zamasu battle card, the card on top of this gets 15k power. When this card attacks, you get to combo a mono blue color god with 5k combo power from your drop. And you can play this card from underneath the Z Battle card for 1 energy. So, and I'm pretty sure this is how this works. So, if you Union Patora, I'm pretty sure that's how this works. So this card says the card on top of this card, if it is a blue Zamasu battle card, gets 15k during your opponent's turn. I believe it would work for any of these Zamasu targets. So if you go into this guy, here, this guy will allow you to, this card will then become a 39k. That's how it should work because this card's being placed on top of him. And then it should work again for this guy because this card would now be considered the one on top of it when you go into it from the X Evolve. Same thing if you go into this guy off of the 5-drop as well. So you should be able to give these cards 15k on your opponent's turn because it's the card on top. Also works for this Goku, not Goku, this Zamasu, I'm thinking Goku Black, this card, and as well as the 7-drop. So if there is a Zamasu, if that Goku Black is underneath these cards, it will give them 15k. That's pretty cool. I'm pretty sure that's how that works. We have the 1 Goku Black Z Battle card. Yep, so it's a 2 cost. Then we have 1 Beerus and 1 Cell to kind of round out the deck. I think, again, if red is sort of hit in a way where red is just not going to be, vital in this next set, we have a lot of green, a lot of blue, like Indoor 21, things like that. This deck, I think, can put up a very big fight against those decks, especially Indoor 21. I think this deck can beat Indoor 21 because you have these indestructible cards that they can't remove. They can use them as energy, that's great, but they can't actually remove them. And then once you get Tragedy down, it's basically game over. They physically can't play any cards. They can't play Bad Omen. They can't do any of this stuff, and you just kind of lock them out of the game. Same thing for green decks. I think if you can get Tragedy down against a green deck, there's not many green cards that are 3 costs or less that actually do things. So you're basically going to lock them out of the game. And if we see some kind of a mid-range to control format, this deck might be really, really good. Again, as long as red is just kind of put in a dormant position where it can't actually kill these cards. So, but this is the deck. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. As always, make sure you guys like and subscribe. Let me know what you guys think of this deck. If you guys have been playing this deck, let me know what you guys have found that it's been very powerful for this. If I missed something, maybe you guys thought I should have added a card, just let me know down in the comments. I like reading those and see what you guys have to say about these things. So thank you guys again for the support, and I'll see you guys in the next video.